Welcome to the Q&A of worldwide growth of aging populations. Please listen carefully and answer questions. Are you ready? Let's go. The world is facing a huge demographic shift without precedent. For the first time in history, we soon will have more elderly people than children and more extremely old people than ever before. What kind of change is the world facing? The world is facing a huge and unprecedented demographic shift. Why is this demographic shift considered unprecedented? Because for the first time in history, there will soon be more elderly people than children. As the population of older people gets larger and larger, key questions arise. Will aging be accompanied by a longer period of good health, social engagement, and productivity? Or will it be associated with more illness, disability, and dependency? What are the two possible outcomes of aging mentioned in the sentence? Aging may come with longer periods of good health, social engagement, and productivity, or with more illness, disability, and dependency. What we do know is that the more elderly people there are in the population, the more cases of age-related diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer there will be. Societies will have to find ways to address this growing need. What happens when the elderly population increases? The number of cases of age-related diseases increases. Which diseases are mentioned as age-related diseases? Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. What will societies have to do? They will have to find ways to address this growing need. And the older people get, the higher the prevalence of dementia, especially Alzheimer's disease. An estimated 25 to 30% of people aged 85 or older have dementia and lose their ability to remember, have difficulty reasoning, and undergo some personality changes. What happens to the prevalence of dementia as people get older? The older people get, the higher the prevalence of dementia, especially Alzheimer's disease. What abilities may people with dementia lose? They may lose their ability to remember and have difficulty reasoning and undergo some personality changes. Unless new and more effective ways to treat or prevent Alzheimer's disease are found, cases are expected to rise dramatically with the increased aging of the population worldwide. And because most dementia patients eventually need constant care and help with the most basic activities of daily living, more institutions will need to be built for their care, more medications provided for their treatment, and more caregivers trained to aid them in their daily life. Why do most dementia patients need constant care? Because they eventually need help with the most basic activities of daily living. What will societies need to provide for dementia patients? more care institutions, more medications, and more trained caregivers to aid them in their daily life. Many of the oldest old lose their ability to live independently, and many require some form of long-term care, which can include nursing homes, assisted living facilities, in-home care, and specialized hospitals. Why do the oldest old need long-term care? Because they can no longer live independently. What types of long-term care are mentioned in the sentence? Nursing homes, assisted living facilities, in-home care, and specialized hospitals. The significant costs associated with providing this support may need to be borne by families and society. Who may need to bear the significant costs associated with supporting the elderly? These costs may need to be borne by families and society. And as fewer and fewer adult children are able or want to stay home to care for older relatives, the shift to institutional care for elders will represent an immense social change, especially in those cultures where older generations have traditionally lived with younger ones. What shift is described in the sentence? A shift from family-based care to institutional care for the elderly. What will this shift represent? It will represent an immense social change. And the more residents of developing countries seek jobs in cities or other areas far from where they grew up, the less access to informal family care their older relatives back home will have. Why do residents of developing countries leave their hometowns? They leave to seek jobs in cities or other distant areas. Who loses access to informal family care? Older relatives who remain in their hometowns lose access to informal family care. Eleanor Harris lived on her own until last year, when her daughter found her in the kitchen cooking what she thought was soup, but which was actually just a pot of boiling water. It became obvious that she could no longer take care of herself. She is now living in a group home for elderly people. Salvador Duarte is in rehabilitation to learn to walk after a stroke. In the coming decades, more and more elderly patients like Mr. Duarte will require costly rehabilitation. Why is Mr. Duarte in rehabilitation? He is learning to walk again after a stroke. What is expected to happen in the coming decades? More and more elderly patients will require costly rehabilitation. Great! You made it! Congratulations! Keep practicing this every single day. Remember, no pain, no gain. See you again. Bye.